Hello and welcome to Talking Point here on WESN Content Capsule. I'm Keaton Shaw.
And I'm Sean Michael Small, and it's a wonderful, but all too soon coming to an end Easter vacation morning. What say you, Keaton?
I thought it ended. I thought it ended on Monday. I thought it ended on Monday at 11:59.
School is still closed, so the roads are clear.
That's not applicable to us.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
No, never mind.
The roads are clear.
Yeah, that's applicable to you. Never mind. Sorry.
Oh, somebody showing off his early morning.
Listen, let me tell you something. Yesterday morning and this morning, I left home and got to the studio. Again, let me stress, I was driving within the speed limit in 17 minutes.
Oh.
I got from the east
to the west
to Woodbrook in 17 minutes.
Which just goes to show you how bad traffic is.
Exactly.
Because geographically speaking, we are not that large, right? Driving to San Fernando should not take quite that long at times, much less just trying to go east-west.
So yeah, with respect to the Easter vacation, children enjoy it because school starts back next week.
I'm enjoying it.
Yes, patrons on the road enjoy it.
I don't miss COVID, but I do miss the clear roads.
Oh no, there were times.
I do miss the clear roads.
You know, over the COVID-19 lockdowns, so there were a few times Sean and I actually worked really late here in Woodbrook, and by the time we left, it was fascinating driving home to realize I'm the only car on the road.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Kind of scary, but fascinating at the same time.
Well, folks, we've been really long enough. We have some stuff to get into today. Some purchases on the horizon, various aspects of the government. So let's kick things off with our daily review. And when I say government, you know, it's somewhat loosely, but in this case, in this first instance, it's somewhat more direct. And that is the Minister of National Security. He just said that about $30 million was approved, well, to acquire a new fleet of tenders, I believe, and as well as one ambulance for the TT fire service. So it's interesting, but just given the last set of complaints, I think, and we've said this before last week, it's not just acquiring new things, but I do wonder to what extent is this going to solve the issue, and the issue that the head of the Fire Service Association you had on AM Prime yesterday was talking about maintenance and upkeep and all of those other things that come after you purchase said equipment.
I think overall, in the face of it, this is good news. Just a slight thing that I'm irked about. This Cabinet approved expenditure of $30.1 million came last May. This was last May. Now, the explanation given by the Chief Fire Officer, Mr. Bristow, is that it takes between 15 to 18 months once it goes through the Central Tenders Board. Following that, then they can procure the necessary vehicles or equipment. The thing is, for me, is that if it was approved last May, why am I only just hearing about it? Now, it may be just me alone. It may be others out there. I don't know. I can't recall the Minister of National Security or the Fire Services speaking of this last May. But it is very important that you do not wait for tragedy to strike and then you have the complaints arising once more. It's nothing new. We've heard about this before in terms of the complaints associated with operating the fire services here in TNT. You cannot wait for this to happen before you come out and sound as though you have been acting on it.
Now, here's an alternate theory, because how long did they say that it takes the Central Tenders Board to
Between
approve?
15 to 18 months.
15 to 18 months. I suspect that if I am the fire service or some other similar arm of the government, I can't say, look, in about a year, we'll need new tenders because the current tenders would be no longer operational. I'm sure the board will be like, well, how you can say that? You don't know. They're operational now? Yes, we could get by now. Well then, when they are not operational, then we could consider trying to spend money for new tenders. So the point is, I'm not sure if they have the capacity. This is a speculation, folks, of mine. I'm thinking that they're going to make the fire service run with the equipment until the equipment is demonstrably inoperable. Then they will try to start to search replacements. Yes, because as long as it's operable, you're going to have to make do. But because it takes 15 to 18 months and you're waiting to see that it's inoperable, then you have 15 to 18 months plus the time it takes to actually, buy the vehicle. So you're talking 2 years plus of where you have no cover because the old one ain't working and the new one is taking so long to reach in based on the rules.
For a general discussion, your argument is very much valid, and I understand where you're coming from, especially given that this is France Tobago. But it's not applicable in this instance because it's for years now. I recall even before. Case, no, what I'm saying, generally across the board, yes.
But this could be a situation that's been going on for years because, again, are people promoted based on merit? Now, again, it's just speculation, but that last line that I said there could be blanketed, asked across the board on this situation, I think.
Adding to this story, the Minister of National Security said new fire equipment is due to arrive within the next 3 weeks. Now, this included one fire truck following the tragedy of Kim Morris and her daughter perishing in that fire last weekend. But Chief Fire Officer Arnold Bristow said procurement activity includes water tenders, a mobile water supply, and a chemical industrial tender, amongst other equipment. Vehicles are expected to be assigned to fire stations in Point Fortin, Pinal, and Mayara. So, again, that's good, although we are aware that Chaguaramas, Woodbrook, Belmont, Morva, Santa Cruz are without water tenders.
Oh yes, Woodbrook has its quaint little fire station that has no actual vehicles.
When I saw that fire station next to the park, I thought, oh my God, is this not?
It looks
kind. Is this like how you have the old library in Port of Spain? Is this supposed to be a building of the past of which we are keeping up to commemorate where we came from?
Exactly, because I did think, okay, maybe Ryson Road will service Woodbrook. That's not unbelievable, right? However, it's an active fire station that looks as though it belongs maybe in some sort of post-apocalyptic TV series, some zombie series or something, because the maintenance of the structure, it just looks beat up and worn down.
Oh, I actually thought it was just there so that we could appreciate the architecture and nothing else. But I'm not being unkind or facetious. I'm genuinely concerned and frustrated that one example that you gave is of the Woodbrook Fire Station. Look at all the other fire stations on this list.
Well, the thing with the Woodbrook Fire Station, that's another question to be asked. Is it being maintained just for the sake of being maintained? If it has no capacity to fight fires?
Well, that's actually a very good point.
And there's a larger fire station right around the corner.
No, that is a very good point, because if we're just maintaining it for maintaining its sake, okay, we still have to pay the salaries of firefighters, but firefighters may not necessarily have the resources to respond. So we are maintaining this building to ensure that society understands and realizes there's still a fire station. There's still a fire station here. You're seeing fire officers, but that does not necessarily mean we can respond.
That's the thing. If that's the example you want to give to some members of the public, it's not a great example. Folks, moving on before we run out of time, another story caught my eye, and that is Caribbean Airlines. Well, they are looking to ask Cabinet to purchase more airplanes. It's said that at least 3 737 MAX, which leaves the door open, MAX 8, which leaves the door open for potentially more, are looking to be purchased by CAL. And it said that these are to service new routes, but it doesn't say what destinations these new planes will be intended for. The news article also...
Well, they're saying North America, Northwestern Caribbean routes.
Northwestern Caribbean.
Northwestern Caribbean routes and North America, because the ATRs will service more of the Eastern
Caribbean. Right. Yeah. Although the 737 MAX, I think the last time I went to Barbados, it was on a 737. So
okay.
It can be used for the economics might not be quite as bad as, say, if you try to use a 737 to Tobago.
Sure, and the economics of Caribbean Airlines is not good anyway.
Well, so ultimately, there's also the possibility was floated about, well, leasing Brazilian-built aircraft to service routes to South America, which this is not the first time I've heard that. I believe they tried a while ago to have flights to Brazil. I think it does make sense on the logistics side of operations. It just never made sense to me marketing-wise, customer-wise. I'm not too sure what we really offer to a Latin American traveler that lives in an already tropical country, as opposed to trying to focus on the European market who wants to get into warmer weather.
Listen, they're neighbors, Brazil and Guyana. I am just wondering, and it's at the top of my head, so I haven't done much study into it, if it makes more sense to do Trinidad to Guyana, Guyana to Brazil, and then back. And I'm just wondering if that makes more sense. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Caribbean Airlines services are Guyana routes every day.
The thing is, again, it might make sense logistically. In the past, it was a multi-stop route that I think included Barbados. I can't remember, but I believe most of the flyers. This is what usually happens. They stop off in the other country, and not many come to ours. I could be wrong if I'm mistaken. Anybody could call in later and correct me. But overall, my question is, all of these initiatives that we hear about, like, we don't necessarily see the profitability out of it. How routes to the UK were handled, didn't necessarily see it. At one point, it was reported that the routes were done just because they were traditionally done, not because they were looked into and sought to be profitable. Now, if we're looking at the North American market, and to some extent looking at the Northwestern Caribbean, has to include the North American market. The problem is we're not necessarily an American destination. So, again, we don't have markets into Europe, to be fair. We have to start a lot with that. But with North America as well, they already know just about every other island in the Caribbean except for us. So why are they going to pick us?
I think I disagree to a certain extent, because if you're speaking tourist,
forget the diaspora.
Okay, because I was focusing a lot more on the diaspora, and I was also focusing a lot more on in terms of business. But
we already have flights for the diaspora.
If you're focusing on tourist-based flights and tourist products, isn't that also an opportunity for Caribbean Airlines to service?
The thing is, and this is what, again,
because even though we're based in Piarco, we're a regional airline.
How many foreign tourists comes in on CAL?
I don't know. I don't have any statistics.
And more importantly, what's telling is, if the bulk of the foreign tourists came in on CAL, why is it that we need to keep asking all of these other airlines to keep flying routes from Europe?
Well, for example, Caribbean Airlines
from England.
Caribbean Airlines no longer services a flight to the UK, and I think there was opportunity for that to continue. But most recently, when British Airways announced non-stop flights between Port of Spain and Gatwick, I think Caribbean Airlines would have lost out a lot there. I think also, from a historical context, the biggest mistake was actually selling off those slots in Heathrow. You know,
that is something my father laments to this day, I will assume.
Up to this day, Heathrow slots. You know, I don't know why we got rid of that, but that's in the past.
Because somebody got a contract. Let's just put that out there, right? I don't know who, but somebody got a kickback.
Thing is, that's in the past. But is there an opportunity now for Caribbean Airlines to actually focus on a UK destination? I don't think so. With the direct service between British Airways and Trinidad and Tobago, British Airways flies to TNT 3 times a week. It used to be 5, but they stopped it, and I don't think they're going to look anytime
and at some point, Condor was flying from
Condor as well, yes, and then you've also had Virgin Atlantic was flying to Tobago.
And while at times there was overlap between CAL and like Condor and Virgin, I believe, if memory is correct, but
Thomas Cook was flying at one point as well.
I never saw CAL really service tourists. The tourists always came in on the other carriers. The diaspora came in on CAL. And it was a weird dichotomy that I'm not sure I don't know if CAL is ready to try to compete, because again, why are we fighting? And this is something that was pointed out to me. Why are we fighting for all of these other airlines to come through, especially if we technically are looking to service some of those routes?
I also think that Caribbean Airlines needs to, if we're a regional-based airline, I'm not saying that we should expand our horizons and perhaps try and tap into other markets if it is feasible and economically viable. In other words, CAL will make a profit and it's not going to be a loss-making venture. But Caribbean Airlines also needs to focus a lot on regional travel, because if you try to book a ticket now with Caribbean Airlines to go to Grenada, it's going to be absolute hell, and the cost associated with that is also hell. Sometimes you wonder if the cost associated with flying to these intra-regional destinations, CAL is trying to make up for their shortfall. For example, the loss that they make on the Tobago flights, because it's extremely high.
The thing is, though, pricing for airlines is always tricky, and ironically, the losses in the Tobago Air Bridge is a basic example as to why, when you don't have a balance of passengers both ways, then trying to price the ticket becomes very, very clumsy, to say the least, which is why there was a long time where flights to St. Lucia were pretty cheap, because it was part of it was just a stopover for certain flights, which meant that the leg of St. Lucia to Trinidad, which was just like the minor part of the flight for the aircraft to refuel, that was cheap because it was really to service passengers between St. Lucia and other destinations.
Listen, KLM is flying to Trinidad and Tobago now. Is that a market that we could have tapped into before KLM even arrived here?
The thing is, the hub and spoke model of air travel was supposed to be changed. Jumbo jets were supposed to be a thing of the past. They probably still will be.
They are.
Right? Planes like the 777, 787 MAX, etc. Narrow body, twin engines, more reliable, longer range. They will go direct small airport to small airport across continents. But the Caribbean is different, because you can't necessarily do that to all of the small islands. So we might still have to have a hub and spoke model, and Piauco could potentially be that hub because we have the regional carrier. But I don't really see any sort of vision to say that we're working towards that, because if we are the hub, then it's similar to Emirates. They are a hub between East Asia and Europe. It could have helped progress into air travel through Trinidad, and we would have, reaped the dividends or the benefits of just having more traffic, more options. It would have made flights, the economics of it more sustainable. But I don't necessarily see the vision pushing these higher concepts.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we have to take a break here on Talking Point. I want to say we welcome our guest commentator for this morning. Stay tuned to the program.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order, or visit us in-store at Forces flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Site, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. Only on WESN, Content Capital.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered.
The conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Only on WESN Content Capital.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you do in Andre.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Paul?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
This May, the spectacular event you've been waiting for is coming. May 27th, celebrate amazing. North Coast Jazz and Heritage Festival. Festival grounds, Blashy Shares. Born here, played here.
Well, folks, it's Wednesday, and of course, we have former Minister of Finance Karen Shishera here with us. She is looking through her notes. She is well prepared, folks, because as you know, the topics that she likes to speak about, whether it's the law, whether it's about the legislature and parliament and governance or finance, given her ministerial portfolio background, she likes to be well prepared. And Karen, you've come here now. You've been keeping your eye on the state of energy globally for a long time. Now, recently, the UN, one of their bodies basically said, well, it's the 12th straight month of food prices dropping. Food prices are still high. However, what we've also seen in international news is energy prices seem to be rebounding after dipping. But natural gas production doesn't seem to be forecasted to grow for the rest of the year.
That was the stop for me to come in. Sorry about that. No, actually, yes. And it was really curious for me that you were seeing consistently oil prices staying high. Now, today I think it's $80, $85. And you see natural gas staying at about $2, and it's for quite some time. Mm-hmm. So you have to ask yourself, is it just OPEC cutting back that is causing that? It is not just OPEC cutting back. From my research, and I am not an expert on the area, I'm not an energy expert, but I certainly think that I did get my data and information from, I think, respectable sources. And I think one can put together what is happening. The geopolitics is playing out. And you're seeing that being played out, not by just looking at OPEC prices being, production being cut, but you're seeing what they call de-dollarization. There we go now, that is it, and it is very, very big now. What the de-dollarization really means is that at one time, for a very, very long time, the foreign exchange reserve that most countries would hold would be mainly US dollars.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, you could have euros and some pounds, but essentially it was US dollars. And having US dollars as your foreign exchange reserve put you in a state of a level of comfort, because when things go bad in your country, as it can, as it may do, when you need to trade with other countries, they don't want TT dollars, they don't want anything else, but they want the US dollar. US dollar was king. So what is going on now is to break the control, break the dominance of the US dollar. And how, so this is all playing out together where you're seeing with the oil. Going straight to the oil, remember why at one time we were certainly saying nobody was building any new oil refineries, it didn't make sense. Right now there are 251 oil refineries under construction. Iran, Iraq, Kenya, I had a whole list, China, a number of countries are building oil refineries. So that is telling you that it's billions of dollars and years before it is completed. That tells you that they intend to have the dominance of oil. And why the dominance of oil? Because of the fossil fuels, coal is the dirtiest, natural gas is the cleanest. But all these countries that are doing that, Russia, the BRICS countries as they call it, many of them have a lot of oil. These Middle Eastern countries have a lot of oil.
Venezuela.
Venezuela. And so they know the day, they make hay while the sun shines, because there will come a day when the natural gas and the other renewables will take their place. So right now they're using that to give them leverage. So what they are allowing countries to do, and that is where the term actually petrodollars came about, because Saudi Arabia, America said, we will give you arms and ammunition back in the 70s, but you have to pay for these things with US dollars. So all of these countries in the Middle East and all over the world would be, let's say, pressured to purchase these arms and ammunition, in which in many cases America was not part of the war. They just supplied the equipment, had to pay you in what they call the petrodollar. So what is happening now, more and more, I had a whole list of countries now that in dealing in bilateral trade agreements, they are trading in their own currency. Instead of using US, they are using yuan. I looked it up. I said, how do you pronounce this word? Anyway, they're using the yuan, they're using their thing in bilateral trade. Many, many countries, there's a whole list of them. The BRICS countries are doing that. And what that is doing is that by using Brazil and Russia too, that is one of their main trading partners. So what that is doing is weakening the position of the US dollar.
Essentially, and this ties back into the whole study about the global economy as well. The BRICS countries are continuing their push to dominate the economy. I think the prediction was 2050, if I'm not mistaken, and it seems as though we're leaning heavily in that direction. It may happen sooner than we think.
I don't necessarily know we're leaning in that direction, although the dynamics of the globe might change, but China's economy is not necessarily the juggernaut that it used to be. They're under their stress, so to say that people could change their reserve currency to one, that's a bit of a risk. At the end of the day, certain sectors of the globe will probably still prefer to trade in, if not dollars, euros, or pounds.
I think fair enough. Also, just to tie back into that, I think the IMF yesterday predicted China's economy to grow by over 5% this year, but they've actually downgraded the growth of the US economy. Not by much, but it's still a downgrade.
And to come back to my point about this is definitely a strategic move, and they're using oil. Oil is the backbone of this. In the reports, they have said that, for one thing, as part of the de-dollarization attempt, the southeastern countries have established their own bank. And that bank is like a World Bank or IMF. So instead of these countries having to run to IMF and World Bank, they are going to provide these support from their own countries. That is to break the dominance of the United States. And they're saying, now why you're diversifying your risk, you're strengthening your national currency, and you're reducing your vulnerability to the US embargoes. And effort and proof of that being true is that they said America prints money even when it doesn't have assets to back it.
Yeah.
Right? And that happened when Nixon, not the Bretton Woods, when Nixon in 1971 realized they had spent so much money being involved in the Vietnam War and other wars actually being involved, that when they put their dollar to the gold, they were actually having balance of payments problems. So they relied on their ability to get countries to trade with them in US dollars. So what these countries are doing is definitely trying to break the dominance of the US dollar and to stop them being able to use embargoes as they have been able to do successfully against countries, to say that any country trading with them, we will not do business with you. And the argument, just one little other point on that, which somebody will say, well, that is not going to happen. Well, one of the things that they've said is that they're saying that even Saudi Arabia is looking at that as a foreign exchange reserve.
Yes.
And they talk about China, but they say they won't do it because China has trillions of dollars, US dollars. They have.
As their own reserve. Yeah.
In their own reserve, as does Saudi Arabia. But we are looking, going forward, trading. These countries are saying, going forward, trading, we are going to be trading in our own things. So Russia is accepting yuan from China for their oil and natural gas, and the other way around. Brazil, I think China's biggest trading partner, is also accepting yuan for payment for exports to them. And so what is happening is they're not saying we get rid of the reserves. They might start to reduce the reserves. So what they're doing is breaking the American control over trade, in global trade, and the weapon of choice is oil. So oil prices are not going to be going down in a hurry.
What does that mean for us? It means price of our gas or fuel might go up, right? Because the gas subsidy has a limit.
It's certainly not going to go down.
The natural gas prices might rise due to production not growing. So that might help us potentially, maybe slightly, maybe not. It might not matter much. So that's the thing. I let off basically saying that, look, food prices, well, we got signs that they're decreasing still, but they're still high. But this might force the economic situation of the world. We're going to get caught in the fallout, right? The unintended consequences, all the other countries who aren't part of these power games that have to deal with, distribution and trade prices fluctuating and
Can I just ask you? Crude oil price? No, I just wanted to ask you very quickly, in the context of Trinidad and Tobago, when we're not a major player in the global oil market, but what does this mean as well in terms of us trading, with China, with Russia, with possibly Brazil? What does that mean for us in terms of our reserves?
Well, I think what we're going to do is a wait and see. Because I think you have to wait, because it has not reached the point where you can say that the US dollar has been replaced as the global dominant. But what you are seeing, definitely a move, and there are so many countries entering, and big countries, important countries being involved. So a lot of them are playing the wait and see. So, I mean, all foreign exchange reserves do carry not only the US currency. Yeah? They put a little bit of euros, a little bit of pounds, a little bit of something. But what you may start to see, but we have to wait and see. But with the oil, which is why I'm even saying that we are really in trouble, because even though oil prices have gone up significantly, you would think, well, we should be doing real well if we had a refinery. Yeah. If we had a refinery, because it's 215 refineries they're building. According to the figures, total exports have gone down by 19,661 barrels per day, down by 2 million compared to 2021. Production fell, they said the drop is about 1,400 barrels per day, the production level, which was 59,850 last year. So what it is saying is that we just don't have enough oil. But guess what? We don't produce enough oil for it to be a major player for us, even though prices are $80. But guess what we're having to do? What Paris is doing?
Import.
And what are they importing at? The new oil prices.
Yeah, basically,
right?
yes.
And you had the report from Newman George saying that the subsidies from Unipet and National Petroleum, over 500 million, in all it kept 875 million. He was saying that the creditors not wanting to give them, to extend beyond the credit period. And he says it has implication for Heritage, because Heritage, one of the things deals is that Paria must pay within the 3-month period. And so they are under stress because, and it cannot provide for some of the Caribbean countries because they're not can't pay for the oil.
We also have to ask what this means for TNTech. But folks, we have to take a break.
Right, I will tell you about
when
that.
we come back, we'll probably continue this conversation here on Talking Points with Karines and Shara. The thing is the implication, folks. We might not feel it tomorrow, but we probably will feel it hard. If you thought the last year was, or the last 6 months was a doozy, just wait. There's more. Stay tuned for Talking Point.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fanzone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
The best for your baby is at dbesttoys.com. We have the best strollers, car seats, walkers, feeding accessories, playpens, cribs, clothing, and the widest range of brand name toys like Barbie, Hot Wheels, Nerf, LOL, Fisher-Price, Cocomelon, Intex pools, Amazon Fire tablets, HP and Gateway laptops, and the best bikes, scooters, skateboards, and ride-on. Visit us in-store at 7 Main Road, MacBean, or shop online now at dbesttoys.com. That's dbesttoys.com. We have the best toys at the best prices.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through. Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Talking About, ladies and gentlemen. And we left off talking about some of the fallout in the wake of the giants doing their international political and financial Machiavellian power plays, we in TNT, well, yes, it's Machiavellian power plays.
They call him Machiavelli, my friend, wow.
We in TNT, you know, we could only end up being caught in the wake. Just recently, the American embassy decided, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take a page out of TikTok's book. We're going to just plant our flag right next door to the Chinese embassy and see what happens.
I never thought of that, though.
I actually thought it was brilliant. I just hope no cannons are actually set up on each side.
But back to oil though. It seems as though a lot of the global players, they're looking to oil, and we've seen now is a time where oil and coal, they're back to being respectable again. You're not going to be criticized for using it, because when Europe is using coal, they can't tell Africa, you can't use coal, you know. No. Now you're back to using it yourself. So now is the time for the coal mines, for the oil wells to go, to earn that money, because the politics, environmentalists were trying to shut that down before COVID. And COVID, the economic need has caused that to reverse.
And of course, you know, the irony of all ironies is Biden, who among his first set of groups that he introduced as his new panel of experts was his environmental team. And now, we've said it many times already, he's allowing oil drilling in Willow in Alaska. That's it. But coming back to you, it also mentioned before we went for the break, TNT. And what is very interesting now, because this thing with the oil, this is the point I was really trying to make. The point I'm trying to make with the price of oil, I expect to continue to be high, is because of the number of oil refineries that they are willing to fabricate, and that takes time and that costs money.
Yes.
Right? And also the fact of the number of countries that are doing bilateral trade in which the US dollar, the petrodollar, is not playing a part. So it is those things, and establishing an equivalent of a World Bank in the Southeast Asia. All of these factors play a part in the fact that oil right now is dominant, make hay while the sun shines. But the irony of all ironies is this. That's why our reliance on energy and energy products, it brings it home to you every day how vulnerable we allow ourselves to be. Because with the TNT project, I think you would have read about the solar panel project was supposed, which is a Shell and BP consortium deal, and the intention was that the solar energy would replace natural gas as a source of energy for TNT, because under the law, I think Kevin Ramnarine said this on a show, that you have to, electricity comes first and then everything else. So the intention was that. They're saying the slow action to put the project on stream has caused the price. Initially, the deal was US $4.02 per kilowatt per hour. Now, because of the delay, there's been a 61% increase in the price to 6.745 cents US for the same kilowatt. It's not funny actually. In fact, now it is more expensive to produce electricity with the solar panel than it is with natural gas.
Yeah.
Right? So that whole idea of being able to take the natural gas and use it for downstream and Atlantic LNG has become a non-starter. On top of which, the greatest debtor to TNT of the 1.4 billion, 1.2 billion is the government.
Yep.
The government for schools, hospitals, etc. And that is why people say, let them pay the 1.2 billion and then come after us. And now what are you going to do with the solar panel project? It started, I understand.
There was a sorting ceremony, I think.
Yeah, so therefore, electricity is going to go up.
Solar gets worse because we have to remember, this might seem obvious, but it for whatever reason, it's not always factored in the pricing. What happens when the sun goes down? So solar energy stops. And battery technology is not It's not as simple. It's not like having a battery in your car or even a battery for your house, because that's possible if you have a solar panel for your house. Because storing that amount of electricity and transmitting it through the grid is very inefficient. So when the sun goes down, what we will mostly have to do is go back to the natural gas energy producers during night.
Imagine there was a...
So we're going to have to keep
the natural gas is all of it is contracted.
Right, but the thing is, we have to keep the capacity for the whole country for nighttime generation. So the overheads that we're going to face for energy production are going to increase.
Can I tell you what the natural gas production has fallen from?
Not natural gas production. What I mean to say, the power plants that use natural gas, it's not as though we could shut down some, because when nighttime comes and everybody switches on their light switch at about 7 o'clock, the capacity that we need for the entire country at 7 p.m. production for electricity is going to have to be maintained. So our overheads for electricity generation is going to be even higher, because we have to pay the overheads off of the solar park, but come 7 p.m. the solar park not going to be generating a single kilowatt of energy.
Okay, what are you saying, Keita?
No, I was just saying, imagine the jump from US 11 million a year to just about US 18 million a year, 61% increase. Which adds up to $1 billion over the 20-year period, right? And that is the scary thing for me. Initially, when the project was due to commence, we were going to pay, I think you just mentioned it.
Yes, I got the figures. It was $4.
Yeah, US $4.
Yeah.
And then it went up to
cents.
Yes.
4 cents per
and then
kilowatt.
2 cents.
And then it went up to US 6.745.
Cents. Yeah.
So imagine that. Imagine that.
And why? And what is the reason they gave you? They just said that. Is the government, the granting of the license?
3 years.
The granting of the license. You have to ask yourself.
This
is the politician in me, Sean.
Yeah.
The politician in me says to me, why did it take the government 3 years to grant them the license to produce it?
Take it from a flip side.
So could it be that there were other persons who were interested and they were stalling? Because why wait from 2018? Yes, you could do what you want and thing, but take the Pollyanna.
No.
I
agree with you, but you could also ask it from a flip side. If you say we have this project and this is the economics of it, and then you allow the price to increase on you by what, over 60%?
Why? Why did it increase?
How can you continue with the project? That's what I would like to know.
No.
What is it?
I'll tell you why they have to continue. And the thing is, you have to ask yourself, they gave you the reason why. The granting of the license from the government took 3 years.
The deals already inked?
The deals were there, the license wasn't there.
It was the license from the government.
So the next thing is, could it be...
So why would the government take 3 years to grant them the licenses? BP and Shell you're dealing with.
And by the way, you don't want to get on the bad side of BP and Shell right now.
I know, right?
That is what happened.
I know, right?
That is what happened.
Yeah, we have to take the increase.
It's not just take the increase. In my respect, I don't have any proof of it, but whatever was stalling the project, right? They couldn't match the power of BP Shell. So whoever was stalling the project and wanted the project, because you know there are Trinidadians who have set up solar plants in Barbados. You know that.
Right.
You know there are solar plants in Barbados. Barbados have been doing solar for a long time, but there are plants producing electricity. So my view is there was some interest in this country that was preventing the granting of the license and stalling. They couldn't win out against BP and Shell.
So here's the next question. I agree with you. I thought RIC... Yes, I never said I didn't. I was just bringing different perspectives that lead to these similar conclusions. The RIC, I also thought that while they're trying to make up for the government, stop laughing, that the government was trying to, TNTech was trying to make up for the government's bill, right? But now I'm wondering if the rate increase for TNTech is they're looking and they're saying, well, look at what happened to the solar price. Look at what's going on with oil and gas production. Look what's going with our natural gas production.
Closing down the refinery. And by the way, I just want to tell you that the refinery, You know, I always used to think it was producing refined oil, jet fuel, and that time, diesel. But from a person I met over the weekend, that their business was very big. They produce, yes, from oil, not natural gas, from oil, plastics, all those bags in all these big supermarkets were made from the oil, the offshoot of oil. If you see the number of products, bitumen, the number of products, so what you kind of understand, when I think it was Espinay was the chairman, they said restructure, restructure. And instead of restructuring, you closed down. Now you set up a company to fix the roads because the bitumen you were importing was of a lower quality than what Petrotrin was importing.
Okay, we're almost out of time, but I have this question I want to pose to you. Is it that the RIC is looking towards the future and seeing the waves, and should we...
What are you saying?
Well, the volatility of the energy markets.
What are you saying? The RIC see the volatility? The RIC in trouble. Because solar panel was supposed to be cheaper. Now the solar panel energy is more expensive than natural gas. So however you cut it, the price is going up.
I hope you understand that these consultations on the part of the RIC is just publicity, you know?
Exactly.
It's just the decisions have already been made.
It's dictation, that's what it is.
It's to go in Parliament, Madam Speaker. We want the country to know that we have conducted several things through the entire country. So this time only 2 people came to the consultation, right? Okay, and that had to bust in some of them.
But also, if I understand you might not want to take on a member of the opposition. Exactly. I understand that you might not want to take on a member of the opposition coming up to disagree with you. But I don't have confidence if I'm middle of the ground member of the public goes and says, I don't agree with this, that their voice or opinion will even be taken on. Like you said, we're just there to be informed of the decisions that's already pre-made.
But then you just answered your own question.
Well, I mean, that was more of a statement than a question.
But I just wanted to say that they also looked at the natural gas production, and it has decreased significantly. I was trying to find the actual figures. And the Prime Minister is the one saying it, you know. He's saying the person of all companies that helped them out of Shell, BP got so bad, and the rest of them is a little bit. Because in 2011, we had 4.1 trillion cubic feet per day. Now we're down to 2.1. And guess what? Those productions are not going to save us. And guess what? Dragonfield looked like Mr. Maduro looking at his NDAs and his ministers and looking at selling oil. That's what he's looking at, oil. He's looking at oil, and not on top of that, not only is Maduro looking around, have no time for us, but the Manatee project, I asked Kevin Ramnarine, I said, but Kevin, if the Manatee project comes on stream in the next few years, wouldn't that be enough production? He said, no, you need the Dragonfield. And to end what I am saying, in the report, they said that because the production of natural gas is so low in 2021, 2022, in spite of the very high prices that we experienced, it did not have the kind of impact because we're just not producing enough. There we go.
Well, oil production is the lowest, as has been described in a generation. Natural gas production, I think Shell has kind of anchored us a bit.
You know what's sad? Some of these agreements also included us supplying energy to some of our regional neighbors, which that's also in doubt or in jeopardy as well.
That's a very good point.
No, but you know what's going to happen? PetroCaribe will be resuscitated. Remember, that's when I think Mr. Manning got really upset about that, because they were now selling the oil to the Caribbean islands at a much lower price than we were selling it. Well, so just now Maduro will be going PetroCaribe again.
Well, listen, we have to break for news on the hour, but you know, I must admit, my cheeks tend to get a lot of exercise on a Wednesday, especially. And you know, Karen, by the way, welcome to the club.
What's the club?
The sense of satisfaction you get when Sean actually agrees with you.
Oh God! Yeah.
So, you know, welcome to the club.
I disagree all the time. I don't disagree with you all the time.
Not all the time. You agree with us on that point? It's not all the time, right?
Some of the time.
Let's break for news on the hour.
You just proved your point.
Here's your WESN News on the Hour. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Bandit killed by police identified. Man shot at gas station succumbs to injuries. TTMA weighs in on RIC proposed increase. Regionally, CARICOM anticipating upcoming crime symposium. And internationally, volcano erupts in Russia's far east, spewing ash 20 kilometers into the air. Now for the details. The bandit killed following the shooting death of a Chinese businessman over the weekend has been identified. Kishonte Reed of Pembroke, Tobago, was shot and killed by police after he and two others shot and killed a Chinese businessman, Nicholas Zhu, in San Juan on Friday. Zhu had just exited his vehicle and was making his way inside when he was accosted. Two others remain in police custody at this time. A man who was shot in Arima while at a gas station in March has died. 27-year-old Daryl Diaz of Temple Street, Pinto Arima, was shot while he was seated in the back seat of a vehicle filling up gas at the gas station. A group of men alighted from another vehicle and shot the victim multiple times about the body. He was warded at the hospital where he succumbed to his injuries on Monday. The TTMA is not willing to accept a 72% increase in electricity rates to industrial customers. Newly installed TTMA President Roger Roach says the increase should be scaled over a protracted period.
We're not willing to accept a 72% to 87% increase to industrial customers because that can have a negative impact on the economy. It can make some of our products uncompetitive, and it could add to a already high inflation rate. What we're saying is that the initial increase should be softened, and then it should be scaled over a protracted period. So, for example, if the RIC wants to propose an increase, we would say, why not start at 15% and then go along every year, doing some moderate increases so that the final consumer don't get a big hit.
In regional news, plans are well advanced for the high-level multi-stakeholder regional symposium on violence as a public health issue, the crime challenge. The symposium will be held in Trinidad and Tobago from April 17th to 18th. CARICOM Assistant Secretary General for Human and Social Development, Ms. Alison Drayton, says several countries in the Caribbean need to reassess the approach taken to crime. In international news now, the Shivilok volcano erupted early Tuesday morning in Russia's far eastern Kamchatka region, spewing ash up to 20 kilometers above sea level, according to the local branch of the Russia Academy of Sciences Geophysical Survey. Seismic activity was first reported around 12:54 a.m. on Tuesday, the Geophysical Survey said on Telegram, adding that the volcano was still erupting nearly 15 hours later. Videos posted on social media from the region show a large ash cloud in the sky and ash covering roads and cars. Well, that was your news to the hour on WESN. I am Denise Martin. Thanks for watching.
Welcome back to Talking Point here on WESN Content Capital. Thank you very much for staying with us this morning. Sean, you look a little too serious. Loosen up a little bit, my friend.
I'm loose. You know, I was born ready.
Let's get into your... Let's get into your question.
Meta joke there. Question of the day.
This is in order to allow us to effectively and efficiently maintain our resources so that we do not, and I repeat, so that we do not reach to crisis proportion. Again, I want to emphasize that we are not in a crisis. This is not the WASA of the past. This is the new WASA. We are being react. We are being predictive, not reactive. In the past, we would await for the levels to drop and then react to that. We are taking precautions. We are taking precautionary measures to ensure that we do not get to a crisis situation.
Folks, we have a new WASA. I did not know this. Now, the question of the day is quite simply, do you believe that WASA has been transformed? Because, I thought we had the same old unreliable water service provider that we always had for the last several decades. But apparently I was wrong.
No, but didn't the minister
say
the other day that what the WASA workers have been doing is turning off, what is it called, turning off the water.
Valves?
Yeah, I think it's more than valves, it's top cock, anyway, whatever they call it. And it is being done in order for the private owners of water trucks to be able to deliver water. He said it, he himself said that. And they interviewed some of them, some gave their names, some did not. And hear what they said. We are not selling water. We are charging you for transporting it to you.
So folks, again, with that just said, do you believe that WASA has been transformed? Do we have a new WASA? Do we have a greater, better provider? Or do we just have the same, stuff, different day?
Stuff.
I
used to see funeral homes popping up everywhere.
Who's this?
Funeral homes. So funeral homes popping up everywhere. And I thought, this is a new business that everybody's getting into in order to make money.
Right.
Buy a couple water trucks now. Seriously, the amount of people that don't have water and require delivery from a water truck, you're going to start making money in this country. That's going to be the next big business venture. So I think that's what's going to happen, if it's not already happening.
In the article, they did say it was quite commonplace, and this is coming from the minister, So I don't know what he meant. And another point I want to make:
if it wasn't serious, real life, it would be comical. That's all I have to say about that. But Trinidad is not a real place. TNT is not a real place. What do we expect?
I don't know about that.
Sorry. Before we open up the phone, well, they open.
We open up the phone lines, but quick.
Karen had another point to make.
It just slipped my brain. That, the number of CEOs they've had to change in a few years.
Yeah.
The number of changes going on within the organization, and yet it tells you that it. And what I found was very telling. How could he come and say the WASA of today is being more proactive rather than reactive? So what he was saying, last 2 months ago, they were waiting till the water thing reached the thing, and all of a sudden, they had a, what do you call that movement?
Light bulb?
Well, more than a light bulb. Right. That's, hey, let's start taking care of the water supply and reducing the water supply. Be proactive. You certainly had that moment.
Well,
certainly had that moment. I can't understand it.
I appreciate the reactionary press conference.
Yes.
But anyway, the phone lines are open. Call in and join us on Talking Point this morning. Share with us your thoughts and opinion. Karen Eunice shares with us if you have any questions as well. I know that Karen is always open and willing to answer the questions as best as she can. But
I don't know if you like that part.
Of course, folks, you don't necessarily have to call in to speak about anything that we have spoken about during the day. You can call in. There are other things that's happening. A lot of crime, of course, has been reported. Yeah. We haven't necessarily covered it because on a constructive level, there isn't much to say about each individual crime story. However, there are certain things that we were going to speak about this morning. We didn't have time for. One of the things is that businessmen, they were asking for more guns. So there's a lot of things to mull over about that with regards to vigilantism and self-defense in TNT.
Sometimes I think that the headlines need a certain level of clarification.
True.
They're asking for more guns.
I paraphrase.
No. It's
short.
It's not you're paraphrasing, because I'm speaking about articles in the newspapers as well. I would I would prefer if we were a bit more specific in saying gun licenses.
That's fair.
You know, because given what's going on around the world.
I do say politicians need to be specific, so that's fair.
Caller on the line with us from San Fernando. Good morning, caller.
Morning, gentlemen. Morning, Karen.
Good morning. Do you have water in your tap this morning, sir?
Yes, and surprisingly, let me say this. I always have water in my tap.
Lucky you.
It is because of where I live and the location of the mains. We kind of located on a transfer main. So even though they say they sometimes when they lock water off in south, because they have to transfer to certain areas, I still get water, unfortunately for me.
That was good planning.
Not going. Don't ask me exactly where I live in south. Karen, on your points of this new shift in refining and going back to oil, it is instructive that Venezuela has and you're right about this dragon field thing, because that is no longer a priority for Venezuela, because if you all read, Iran has signed an agreement with Venezuela to revamp the refinery business. They just did the smallest refinery in Venezuela, and they're going to start the largest refinery in Venezuela, and there's an agreement, so I think to do 9 in total to revamp the Venezuelan refinery. So this is a serious shift in the world. In addition to this, Karen, that issue with ICNTT. If it is that this solar park is going to handle 20%, because that is based on what they're saying, 20% of the capacity, and by the way, I don't know if you all saw when you left this morning, you saw the Prime Minister putting the shovel in the trunk, because today the Prime Minister is going to turn the sod for that project, that solar project. And, 20% of the capacity of ICNTT, which means they're going to displace 20% of what we have right now. So which means they're going to close down one of those plants.
It's not
the new one, that the TGU plant that they built recently that they commissioned. It seems as if there is something not meshing in this whole issue with the rate increase in ICNTT and power generation. I think we need to get to the bottom of that, because something is missing inside there. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Well, Karen already said it.
Something is missing, but I don't think it's going to be displacing the 4 power generators, because what they're using is natural gas. But what they will be using, I didn't know it was only 20%. What they'll be using is selling solar energy to those power generation cars, because they don't produce the natural gas. They have to buy the natural gas, and then they sell it to ICNTT, who transmits and provides the electricity. So I don't know that it's going to do that, but I do feel there's more in the motor than the vessel than what we know.
They can't get rid of any of the plants, because what happens is, if there's a cloudy day, if there's any dip in solar production, once nighttime comes, because you need the full capacity, right? If anything goes wrong, because renewables are inconsistent, and a power grid does not like a drop in production. It causes problems if you can't facilitate everybody. So you need to have the capacity to facilitate everybody at once if necessary.
Well, I just hope they have no trees near this solar
park. We
have a caller on the line with us from Tunapuna. Good morning, caller.
And I would want to say something about San Fernando, why they have the problem.
Good morning. Do you have water in your tap this morning, sir?
Do you believe in the new WASA?
Well, I don't know what is the new WASA and what is the old WASA. But what I know is WASA must stop playing the games. I mean, PNM WASA. Let me be straight. We can't just cover a thing and say WASA. It's PNM WASA. There's a big difference, because we're talking here about 8 CEOs change and 7 ministers change in the last 7 or 8 years. So that is utter nonsense, incompetence. Right? But I want to divert a little bit and talk a little bit about the political culture of this country that have us in this mess here today. It's the political culture of this country have us in this mess where we are today. Before you were all born, I don't know, Mr. Sarah, to before probably she was a little girl.
Yes, she was born some time ago.
The culture of politics in this country remains. Just imagine, we had a party remain in power for 30 years. And for us to move that party with all the nonsense they were doing, we had to make a sacrifice and ensure that we put somebody to move the PNM that would be appreciated, and that somebody has to be a non-East Indian. That is where we are here today in this country, and it continues. Just imagine we had to take Robinson with 2 Minzy seats and put him as the head of a party.
Caller, you're being disrespectful.
We're trying to give you a chance, but the language is getting...
Yeah, but I know you all don't tolerate this kind of comment.
Yes, exactly.
Kishan, you know about Perseverance Hall? You know about Center of Excellence? Perseverance Hall was the Center of Excellence. Around all that time when we were looking at strategies, how to move the PNM. And we only come up with that.
All right, caller. Because, I mean...
I find it very interesting. We like to use this term quite often here in Talking Point, the irony. I have absolutely no issues with people wanting to express their political opinions openly. I always ask that you be respectful. But in the same breath that you said, the political culture, it's in the same internet has to change. It's in that same breath that you were heavily,
the culture can't just be one side of the political spectrum.
So perhaps, caller from Tunapuna, it may be beneficial to all of us if we take a page from your lesson. It may also be beneficial if you yourself take a page from your own lesson that you're trying to preach.
And if there's a call, I won't.
We have a caller.
Well, then go ahead.
From
I was going to say something, but go ahead.
Good morning, caller. Do you have what? I was going to say.
Do you believe in the new WASA?
Hello. Good morning.
Morning. You there, caller?
Hello.
Hi. Morning.
Hello.
Yeah. You're on here.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Do you believe that WASA has been transformed, caller?
I see you just asked me a question.
Do you have water in your tap? Or do you have TSTT as a service provider?
Oh God, wait, will we reach with TSTT?
He answered my question clearly because the phone line isn't working. Call on the line with us. Another caller. Good morning, caller. Hello.
Oh.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Do you have water in your tap this morning?
Shera. Hello?
Hi,
yes.
You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You can hear us?
All right. The transformation of WASA, at least we're seeing a little light. The first light was getting rid of people that collecting big salaries per month and not going out into the fields. By home, I mean, I watched 4 pumps leaking for months on months end, and not a man coming there to repack those pumps until finally this young man came and put 1 pump. And it is carrying the same amount of pressure the others was carrying. I don't know if they intend to put them back, but I know it have a big thing with those pumps. They're very weighty and it's iron, so they used to be packed in a bin in WASA and then being sold as scrap. Right? The second thing is, I think it's time our first people get together and call in that young man and carry him and show him Dr. Eric Williams' plan for water in this land, because all the parties that got PNM, UNC, anyhow, they never took up that old man idea at all. If you all remember, there's tanks on the northern range. Those tanks, all those areas were supposed to be converted into mini dams on the northern range. So in case you don't have current, you open them and they have power and pressure, PSI from the hills. We'll have to help. We'll have to help him because he's part mixed breed of our people. Right? Nice show, man.
All right, thank you.
All right, caller.
Do we have a caller?
No.
Okay, let me just say this very quickly.
Yeah.
In response to the Tunapuna lady before she went on that
I
rant.
think it's a gentleman.
Oh, gentleman? Oh, gosh, well, my voice is heavy, so people think I'm a man a lot of times when they call early in the morning. So I'm sorry if I did got it. But number one, when the PNM administration are in power, they had come to an agreement with Citibank to provide these huge, because they had identified, they had done a map of the entire country to determine where the leaks were. And they had imported, I think you can go along 2 or 3 areas, people have been told me, these huge pipelines which were supposed to have been laid in the areas where there was the issue with regards to leaking. So that's one thing, and now you have a caller, so I'll leave this Alcott for next.
Santa Rosa on the line, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I am nearly 60 years old of my life. And from 1978 come back, WASA has been having this problem. I lived in 1978 in Antigua. I never had that problem with water until I came back to live in Trinidad. My father had a contract with me, so I was a little boy, I went with him. I went to school there, and we had water. When I came back here in Trinidad, October 1978, I stayed by my aunt in Enterprise, Siobhan, and they had a nice house. We had to go at 12 o'clock in the night for water with our box cat. Who to blame? WASA. Government come, government go. People play politics with WASA. WASA is used as a political football for red and yellow. For red and yellow.
Yeah.
Put their party hacks there who don't know nothing about water.
Yep.
Where I live up by me, I extend my house, I do what I have to do. I leak in front of my house, and the guy coming to tell me if I have a pump. What a pump have to do with water leaking? He don't know. He not qualified in our field of work.
Remember, they just had to pay out nearly $2 million.
Yes.
All right, caller,
thank you. All right, caller, thank you. We do have another caller. I don't know if it's the same caller from
good morning, caller.
Good morning, caller.
Caller, you have to turn on the volume on your television.
Pardon me?
Yes. Yes. We can hear you. Kindly turn on the volume on your television.
Yeah, listen to the phone, not the TV has a delay.
Uh-huh. All right, okay. No problem with that.
All right. Yes, caller. Go on.
Okay. You ready for me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead. You're on here.
Okay. Good morning.
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 Yeah, I'm calling from Tunapuna. I'm looking at the show with regard to Messrs. Keaton Shah, Sean Michael Small, and Miss Karen Nunes Teixeira. I'm a first-time caller. I have, always subscribed to the view that when you want advice, you seek advice from the competent person. In this show, I've been looking at it for a long time as a first-time caller. And I really, at times, have been impressed, with the responses and so on. What I just want to do is advise Mr. Small that when Mr. Sarah, who is an economist and a lawyer by profession, is making a contribution, please don't interrupt, because I am able to follow, what he's saying. And I appreciate, Mr. Small will have his contribution, so Mr. Shah. But when it's interrupted, it really irks me because I get distracted from the importance of whatever the topic is. This morning, I was very happy, in the discourse with respect to the question of the oil and the American politics that's being played with respect to that. And it's quite obvious that we here, I recall that everybody was, a bit concerned. I remember Ralph Barrage, we should run out of oil. But it's quite obvious that oil will be here for us for some time if they're building a new
refineries around the world.
All
right.
Companies to take care of that.
Yeah.
So that at least I could see probably the next 10 to 15 years.
Well, Kola, thank you very much.
It's going to be us, and we should be making, or try to make use of it, or take advantage of that situation.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Kola. Do you have a good day? And welcome first time Kola. We hope to hear from you again. Kola on the line with us from Carnage. Good morning, Kola.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, well, you don't ask the question if I have water on our line.
Do you have water in your lines?
No, we don't have no water on our line. Right? And the question of new WASA, when I trying to understand how it is the new WASA, because on the Western Mainland and Carnage, under the old WASA, when they fix the leak, within 2 weeks, it will up again. And under the new WASA, it's the same procedure. Right? When I will know it's a new WASA is when the people in the residence in Scorpion, when the water comes, I have to call them and tell them turn on the pressure for the people on the higher level to get water. Right? When I will know it's a new WASA is when persons who have water for the past 7, 8 years, they'll have pipeline and then have no water in the house. Then I will know it's a new WASA. Other than that, it's PR stunt. I'm not for that.
All right, caller, thank you. But we have one last caller that we have to sneak in here. We're way behind time from Manzanilla. Good morning, caller.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. First time caller. I'm calling to let the chairman of the new WASA know that you have residents from Plum Road, Manzanilla, who receive water once every 15 days.
My God.
Please, I would like this chairman to know this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's
Relatively new WASA chairman, relatively new WASA CEO, same old issues, same old problems.
But I will just say, if I can quickly say, with the lady from Tunampuna, when you're from the San Fernando area, you do not suffer as much. The reason being that the desalcot, which provides desalinated water, whether or not you use it or not, you have to pay for it, the government, right? And the intention was the water was ready to be used for the industrial sector, point leases, because they need a special type of water, whatever it is. So what has happened, there's been a lot of additional water, and the government has to pay for it in any event. So you find that in the San Fernando area, my understanding is they do not have the same problems because of the desalcot plant.
Ironically, right now, the shortages from the desalcot plant is causing issues for South. But
that's the reason.
Ironically, but it's important to understand, we don't have one central water system. We have many separate water systems. So problems in one is not going to affect the entire country. And that's the last point with regards to gravity pressure. Steve Alvarez on the show, he basically said, look, water pumps are part of the cause of the leaks because the pressure is constant on the pipes, any weaknesses. But gravity, water towers, water on the hill would be gentler on the system. I think at least there's some merit.
You should have there's someone, I won't call their name because they didn't give me permission to do that. But I would want to recommend having someone like that on the show because they are a wealth of information on the position regarding WASA and why there are issues with the WASA. And I think they would give a very objective point of view that we'll all benefit from. But I'll have to ask the person if they will agree.
Right, okay.
Well, Karen, yes, sure. Thank you very much once more for joining Sean and I on Talking Point this morning. It's your information once more. And, you go a lot more in depth many a times than Sean and I would, so thank you very much for your presence.
Yes, and for your research, folks, that is no joke right there.
Sean Michael Small.
Yes.
Live long, stay strong.
I'll try.
Live long and prosper. Folks, just remember, where there is a leak, there isn't WASA. Well, there probably is. Anyway, listen, today is a good day.
Is it Schrodinger's WASA?
Today
if you don't see it, it doesn't exist.
Today is a good day to have a good day, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.
This May, the spectacular event you've been waiting for is coming. May 27th, celebrate amazing. North